It's November 7th, 2017, and we're all going to play in the creation and focus our intention and attention on bringing all that's falling down, crumbling away, being revealed to a rapid conclusion, an effortless conclusion, and then start the real play, the real work of creating the beginnings and the expansion from there. So welcome everybody who's on the call. It's so great to have you guys here. As you remember, if you have background noise, you can mute yourselves. If you've called in, you dial *6 to mute yourself. And if you're on the computer and you got in that way, you'll see a mute button for yourself. And don't share your screen or any of those kinds of things, because that'll blow out the capacity the conference has. So I know that everybody who's on the call is in different places and focuses and we'll say expansion rates of consciousness. So one of the things I wanted to start with is just reminding everybody that wherever you are is perfect. There is no place to be that's, better or higher or faster, any of that kind of thing. And I did want to start just by talking a little bit about the fact that I think there's so many phrases and languaging that's used for thinking about, if you want to call out the physical body ascension, the ascension process, or about the expansion, about moving out of linear timelines into quantum, however you're going to phrase that. But a really good place to start holding is that the physical, right this moment, is already in the 5D, 6D, and up. So Earth, Gaia, has already moved and made that quantum up jump. And so we are physically in that frequency level. Our experience of that is dictated by our level of consciousness. And we're the ones who dictate our level of consciousness by how we're holding things, what our predominant frequency vibration is. And so our level of consciousness dictates our experience. And one of the ways to play with this when someone's wanting something to happen a little faster, or they're working on something and not sure how to do that, is to keep that in mind. So I just wanted to kind of set that stage. There are a lot of people on the call who already understand that, and there's a number of people who may not quite get that yet. Or I know a number of people I've had conversations with lately where they get it on one level and then they're looking at something and they take their focus off more of the big picture and look at one specific thing, and they tend to slip out of that. So I just wanted to start with that. So does anybody want to jump in and give a sense of how they're reading their physical experiences right now, how they're basically dictating their own experience?
Hi.
Hi.
This is Wonders About Everything.
Cool. How you doing?
Good. So I've kind of been, with you guys since 2011, 2012, in and out. But anyway, I'm a mystic, and I'm here to tell you anything is possible. I've had, and I thought maybe, you guys might be inspired some, because I've had these experiences that are just wild. And this happened in the 70s, and I wasn't on any drugs or anything, but I had this,
I'm going to ask you a favor. Can you relate your experience, because of the way the energies flow, I'd love everybody to relate their experiences with what's happening right now. So where they're playing in right now, rather than reaching back, because if we reach back into old storylines, we're actually reaching back into very different frequencies and timelines. and we
Oh,
don't want
well,
to do
yeah.
that.
Well, that is true, except for I was being introduced to my abilities that I have. And so I know for a fact that, well, just for instance, I was eating bee pollen the other day, and in the now, I could feel the bees buzzing. I could taste every flower. I could, I mean, that energy. And of course it gave, it lifted me up. And then bees came around my van. I mean, it's like a state of nirvana. And a frequency where, you know, I aligned with those bees. They showed up. I don't know why they're buzzing around my van. But it's just about also what I've been experiencing is it's being like completely alive. All right. So all these senses are turned on in me, and it's a little hard to describe other than it's like everything's turned on. I'm super sensitive to so many things around me, and then I can.
Well, you gave a great description of it when you talked about, hearing the bees buzz and feeling the flowers and all that. You're in the morphogenic field of those bees and where they were in the moment when they were collecting that
Right.
and creating that.
Right. And I wrote on the little pack of bee pollen, thank you very much. I've been very concerned about them, and because I'm aware of the toxins and the different things. I'm a naturalist. I study it, and I'm a painter, artist I make a living that way, but I write a little bit too about mythology, which mythology is true. I can travel and meet people I can shapeshift, and it's always been in a mammal body, and I meet people like when I need help, or if I have a strong, something that I have a longing to know. And so then I have that experience with them, and then it could be at night dreaming, and then in my physical life, those people will show up, and then physical objects appear, and so they match what happened in whatever astral realm. I'm not going to put any numbers on them because and then I had some things like an earring that left, was gone off my ear, and I was on an appointment for a painting job, and so I was all dressed up, and I know that and I was kind of upset. It was an earring a friend had made with a butterfly, no doubt. And we searched this whole store that I was in for this earring. And then I went back home, and I know I had it on because I checked how I looked before I was meeting this client, looking in the mirror, looking good, to sell some art. So I knew it was on when I was in the car to meet this person. Anyway, I got home, and there was the earring sitting on the sink, next to the sink on the counter. I mean, I'm like, okay, I don't know, but I have not been able to control where things go so far. I mean, good thing it's not anything big, but now I have two little dogs.
Yep.
Anyway,
great. So who else wants to share us? Because their dogs are joining in the conversation, which is cool. My dog is actually listening to their talking.
Oh,
who else wants to share where they are?
Perk them up. Yeah. Yeah, they're great little spirits. You know, the one I manifested her, she's a little 4-pound Chihuahua, and I dreamt her up, and I was like, I want a little dog that's like from the fairy realm, and she'll be white,
I can.
and she'll I think I'll splatter her with caramel hearts. Well, guess what? That's what she is. She's her nose is the size of my pinky finger. She's 4 pounds. She looks like something. I mean, I can't go anywhere with her because everybody stops us. She's so amazing. But I'm talking about how we create, when our desires, we just have an open mind and just know that these things, we're capable of this. And I'm here to tell you, I've seen the physical effects of it. It's just amazing. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but just to encourage everybody else,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have all of those abilities within us. It's our own mind speak, the stories that we tell that limit that from happening.
Right.
So remember, the others who want to speak, you have *6 to mute yourself or unmute yourself, depending. And then if you logged in on the computer, you just have to unmute yourself and just make sure your background noise is quiet so we can all hear.
Hi, Busy.
Hi.
Hi, this is Cece. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm fine. I just thought I would step in and say a little bit about what's happening in my world at this moment.
Great.
Right now, I seem to since the full moon, I'm just knocked out. And I mean, I'm just kind of down, not like emotionally down, but I mean, I'm I'm just low, kind of low energy right now. So I'm just going with that and just resting. But we had an interesting experience a couple of days ago here. We get a lot of flyovers at our house. We get a lot of unidentified things, and then we'll have Black Hawk helicopters fly over the next day or a little bit later. So we've had this going on since about 2013, 2014.
Hang on one second. Hold on 1 second, Cece. Whoa, someone has a lot of distortion on their line. So please *6 if you called in, or hit your mute button so we can keep it clear. Okay, Cece, keep going.
Okay, so we get a lot of activity at our house and have for several years, since about 2013, 2014. And it was interesting. My husband kind of is real in tune with it. So it's kind of like he'll just know when to look or where to look. And he says he has a telepathic connection with that. And it was interesting. He was out with our grandchildren on the trampoline, and he said he just knew he needed to look, and he looked up and he saw a huge ship, and it was much larger than we usually see. And all of a sudden he saw another ship kind of come out of nowhere and went in the opposite direction. And of course, about an hour later, we have lots of stuff flying over. And but what was interesting about it was my grandson, who was 5 years old, he goes, a huge portal opened up over our wooded area. He said it was a huge portal. And he said, and I was trying to get him to, he's only 5. So I'm trying to get him to explain to me about it. And he says, well, these rocks, like meteorite rocks, were coming out of it. And he goes, and those ships came out of this portal. And I didn't get a whole much more out of that from him, but I thought that was really, really interesting. That happened a couple of days ago. But
yeah, and you're in the U.S.?
I am. I'm in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm in Kentucky. And so that's, so that was an interesting thing. And of course I just said, it's kind of a little low energy here, but I'm finding that what I've been doing the last couple of days, because I've been having some low emotional days or low energy days, and I know I'm creating it. So I'm every morning now I'm getting up and I'm saying, you know what, I'm just going to have a really wonderful, great day. And you know what, for like the past 4 or 5, every day that I have done that has been just a wonderful, great day. I mean, it might not have been anything like spectacular happen, but I mean, it's just been a good day. So I'm finding when I need stuff, I'll look over and it's just right there, almost like in my hand. Just little things, that you could discount.
And you're not,
yeah.
You're not surprised by that, right?
No, not really. I'm starting to go, oh, this is kind of, I look over, I kind of chuckle. I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's clever. That was clever.
One thing I will say is that you give this beautiful description, and your energy really is expansive when you describe that, I had this thought and I said I'm going to frame and lay out my day, and it's a wonderful day. And
Yes.
then part of the old programming mind comes in and says, well, it wasn't really anything spectacular. It was just right? Yeah, and then you said, well, and then I'm finding, and you get excited again, then I'm finding, that when I need something, I look over and it's right there. Well, no, they're just everyday things. So I'm pointing that out because you're tuning into your quantum ability, and
right.
you create. The emotional content and the consciousness dictates your experience in your reality. So you're doing it, you're showing it to yourself, you're expanding it, you're getting more comfortable in it, you're playing in it, and you're doing more and more. And I just wanted to call attention to that for you and others who are listening, that's a point where the old programming is trying to kick back in.
It is.
So by noticing that and just saying thanks, no thanks, don't need that. I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing great, right? So those are little. As we expand more and more, and we can hold that vibratory rate higher and higher and more permanently, so that it gives us more expanded experiences on a continual moment-by-moment basis. We will have moments where the programming kicks in, so it's helpful to recognize it, to notice it, and then, play and amp up what you were creating even more. So, some polka dotted apple shows up because you wanted it to, kind of
Absolutely.
a thing.
Well, thank you, BC. That was that. I'll listen to that. I'll try to take that in. I'll take that in.
What? Yeah. One thing I just it brought me up to think about too, is that all around us, whether you can kind of trigger them yourselves, you can read things or hear things, have this phone call, all sorts of things where there's key codes and triggers that are unlocking your higher dimensional aspects, your higher vibrational frequencies. And then it's up to you to choose to walk through them. So it sounded like, Cece, with you were saying you had a kind of a down day or low day, and then you said, well, what I created that. Well, part of that is a creation of you. Part of that also is when you're integrating things and we're working through those old programming, recognizing them and pushing them out, you'll have to kind of feel some of that. And sometimes it feels down or doesn't feel so great or those kinds of things. But again, it's all a matter of choice. And until we get in the frequency habit of it rather than just the mental habit, which is tough to overwrite, but get into that frequency groove, then we can really play in that and create more in that. And sometimes you have to choose that, a couple hundred times a day. But yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
Cool. That's cool. And I love that your grandson is, right there and watching and spotting the stuff for you. That's very cool.
It is. They live, my husband and I were retired, we've kind of been in the, it kind of been in the awakened crowd for a while. And it's like, we get to, we're their legal guardians. So I'm kind of getting to raise those. My first two I raised, and I was so in the system. I did everything that I was told to do, and it didn't all work out very well. And so this time it's not. I mean, they're just unschooled and loved to death, and we're very open, and we're just trying all the things. It's like you know, I say we have legal guardian of them. We really don't, because we didn't play in the legal system with them. They are, you know, for all means and purposes, for, you know, if I had to go do that, I would, but I don't. I hate playing in a system we're trying to take down. Right. And then the other is the school system. There's good in everything, but there's also things in it that I don't like. So I'm unschooling. And it's like, we're breaking the systems down in our own house, right? Because that's where you have to break them down first. That's where you have to say, I don't like that. I'm going to do it this. There is a better way, and you can do it. And I'm finding that there's so much stuff out there. Unbelievable. Yeah. It's just getting, every day it's just something new. It's just beautiful. I love it.
And you're transmitters from that. So the house is a transmitter, what goes on, the energy, everybody who's in it, who comes into it, everybody who leaves and goes out, you know, it's that trail of sparkling dust of transmission that goes all over the place.
This place is like a huge energy volcano here. I mean, it just is. And I've been told that many times, and it is. And we get a lot of attraction here, you know. We're in the middle of freaking nowhere, you know. I don't, you know, I'm sure there are other people. I haven't attracted any others to me right yet. I feel kind of alone out here. Like I'm kind of like an anchor out here in the middle. There's a lot of us, light keepers or whatever, whatever we call it, right? And I'm out here, but I know it's like we're starting to feel like, oh, it's getting time. And we feel like we're getting ready to probably move. We're starting to feel that for the first time. Like there's going to be some more movement out there. And of course we can see it's coming, but I'm starting to feel that on some level. And I'm just going about it just real intuitively. Just, you know, I'm just staying out of my head as much as I can. Right. What I try to do.
And when you mentioned just now, we're getting there. Are you talking about the big shifts and changes and all that?
Inside and out, the outward, and then my own change. You know, the personal, and then also the you know, the micro and the macro. It's right. Like it's like that. You know, it's like a dance, really. If you sit and look at it, it's a dance.
Yeah. The only thing I would play with there is that we're not getting there. We're there.
Yes, we are. You're right. We're absolutely there.
We're right there, and you know, because if we're getting there, we're always getting there.
That's right. You're always
someday we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Right.
If you're waiting, you're in the frequency of waiting, and you're just going to keep on.
That's right. That's what so let's play now and do now and expand even more now. and more.
And watch what you say.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, thanks, Beezy.
Yeah. Who else?
Hey, BZ, can I say something real fast? Is this Tim?
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, Tim.
All right. I work, you know, I get up and I go to work every day, just like a lot of us do, everybody, you know. And I have coworkers that some are young, some are older than me, peers that may look at things a lot differently because of the way they were raised. But lately, since this whole, I've been awake to the whole fact for a long time. You know, I've known this for years, you know, but a lot of people are just now feeling, like you said, the vibrations and seeing the changes and starting to, you know, wake up from this sleep, it seems like, and they're like getting the points. And so I'm helping them co-create. I'm like, so Mark, I'm like, what did you always want? He's like, man, I always wanted an island, you know. And I was like, do you have a website of that island, you know? And he had a website for this island, you know, to look at islands in his own way. This young man is already co-creating. Cool.
Yeah.
He's years behind me, you know? So this is the thing, is like, we're at an amazing point, is because these young guys are dreaming fantastic things and their minds are in the right place, you know? So I just hope that everybody can be able to help others and ask them little questions. What did you always want? Like my buddy Dave says, and like when Bob Wright said, when you were a kid and you had big dreams and you wanted to be an astronaut, and you didn't know you had value because those things were maybe hidden from you for the meantime because of emotions that the humans had. But the thing is that now we can all help expand on that idea and help others and give them the idea and ask them what they always wanted. What did you want to be when you grow up, you know? So I just want to.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And the other thing too, you bring up that, you know, creating and contributing to the new earth and helping it unfold and having all the, you know, there's not going to be a demarcation line. Okay, the old is collapsed, the curtain's down, look at it on the ground there. Okay, fine. And now let's start the new. They, you know, they happen simultaneously. So we're in that window when the old is crashing, rumbling big time, and the new is sprouting and spreading. And, you know, as I said, we're already on, the energies are right there in the physical for, the 3D world is basically gone. It's only the programming in our minds that keep us there. But you brought up a great point, Tim, is that when you're contributing, when you're doing things, when you're doing what you're moved to do, they can be simple little things, they can be connectivity, they can be bigger projects. So there is no structure or guideline, right? There's no form that it takes that you can hang a post-it on and says, well, see, that's a new earth structure. It's more of a frequency. It's all experiential. So what you're doing and how you're playing with those people is a wonderful illustration of how that works and how that is. And then it probably plays out more conversations and more ideas and more possibilities, I would imagine, as the conversations go.
Yeah, because you see their eyes light up, you know, and maybe not the first day, but the second day their back's a little straighter, you know, and their attitude's a little better. You know, maybe I sent this man or this woman home to look into their dreams a little bit more, you know, and create a little bit of something. But I just wanted to add that piece. But yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Who else?
Hey, BZ, it's Katie.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
So I wanted to share kind of what I've been doing on my own. And so I really liked the call that we had with Bob and Judy and Heather. And I've been trying to focus on, you know, the end game and how we see it. And so the one thing that I really connect with, or that makes me, I guess you could say, like light up with energy, would be music. And so I found certain songs that I could see us all like celebrating to, or that I just like connect with, that kind of, you know, envisions like it being over, like all of this, you know, being done, we did it together, and just how we're going to be when everything, you know, comes, you know, plays out the way that it's supposed to. And so by doing that, I feel like that, because that's the one thing where I can completely feel like the vibrations moving through me. And so I just try to focus on that versus, I mean, yeah, because like thinking about it's great, but that's what really like moves energy through me.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
So I just want to share that.
That's really cool. And you know, you bring up a really good point, because when some people are feeling things in their body, so they're having aches or pains or cold, head colds are a big one where a lot of that is draining. It's all of those programmings there, because all of the programs, all of the constructs are in our cellular memory. So not only do we need to release that from there, that body awareness, that body memory, but we need to then also make room. I mean, it does two things at once. First of all, it gets all the gunk out, and it also makes room for the actual physical changes that are happening within your cell structure, and the way that you hold the light, carry the light, the way that your actual electromagnetic system runs the energy, and all of that. So it's a good thing to focus on that. And just, I would imagine that well, actually I can even imagine you doing it, where you're listening to that music, you're rocking out to those songs, and as you and I had talked about before, you know, you're just creating these colors and swirls and these bubbles of, you know, the sound bubble that you see in a cartoon, and it's, you know, bouncing over to someone else's head. Even if they can't, you know, hear the music, they can feel that coming from you.
Right. Yeah.
And we all do create together. You know, we don't have to know that like you were on a stage with a play and says, okay, you know, this person's going to speak before me, and then this is happening, and then someone's going to knock on the door, you know, so it's all stage set. It actually all is stage set in a way, in that it's an energetic stage set, and our following our nudges, our doing what we're moved to do, are our cues. Those are our cues to move forward, speak our lines, to do our creations, whatever it is. And a lot of people are getting better and better and better at getting the idea of, you know, feeling what you're moved to do, listening to that. Some people still, I know in conversations that I've had over the last week with a whole bunch of people, is that when they're moved to do something, they're realizing that they kind of brush it off. And so they don't do it then, and it slips by. And I just wanted something made me think about right this minute. When those things are happening, we're actually missing our cues. And so the piece of our puzzle the energetic piece that we were then in that dance with everybody else, whether it has to do with you're focusing on the case with Heather and Randy, if you're focusing on the cabal, all of those kinds of things, anything that you're focusing, and most importantly, the whole big picture, by missing our cue, a lot of other people's got to do more to get their cue. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's getting easier though. Like it's getting easier to hone into that and to just follow that initial gut reaction versus your mind sitting there weighing out the odds and going the other direction. So that happens to me all the time. So I actually find me acting on impulse, which, you know, or just that initial gut feeling a lot more, and it ends up being, like transpiring better than what I could ever imagine. So.
Right, rather than trying to plan it out and think it and.
Yep.
Yeah. When you go from the gut and you act from the heart, you're much better off and get more expansive, fun results than thinking about it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the funny thing is, you know, people sometimes we use the phrases, well, you know, you got to think about it, you want to be certain about it, you want to reflect on it, and we're actually, when we go from that feeling place, we're being much more conscious about it in the same way that people were using those other ways I just described it, you know, of being awake and conscious, not the real expansive awake and conscious, but kind of, you know, thinking about stuff.
Right. And just trusting yourself, like trusting that your initial instinct is correct. I mean, that's the biggest part.
Yes. Well, we're learning how to feel again. We really have not remembered how to feel, and we're doing that. And think about all the ways and all of the different avenues that our feelings have been guided and manipulated and scripted. You know, whether it's as from a boy, when you're a boy or a girl, and you know the colors that are boy or girl colors, or the toys that are boy or girl colors, or you know, or jobs or whatever it is. So we then get told to put into feeling places, and now we actually are responsible and feeling our feelings, and that lets us acknowledge those signals, those messages that those feelings are having. And as you said, trust those feelings. Trust that.
Yep.
Cool.
ABC, it's Karen. I finally got on.
Hey, Karen, how you
doing? It's been a roller coaster, actually very exciting, because that feeling of being on that ride and getting all exhilarated and excited and then going, woo, down. And just now you want to get, once you've gotten that, you want to go back and do it again. So reached that epic point. And it's all about imagination. So if I can just keep that, you know, just stay focused on it, I'm fine. And I've actually been with the group since probably 2012 when I was in Virginia. Now I'm in California. I manifested California, so I'll be here until something else goes on. Some sort of tsunami or a roller coaster. Thanks, guys.
That's cool. And when you got on, you brought all such a fun energy with you, so that's great. Delicious. Who else?
Well, this is Nikki. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Nikki.
Hi. Yeah, I'd like to to talk just a little bit about what I've been doing for the last 4 months.
Great.
And I've been talking to my body. I've been talking to my cells and becoming friends with them. I've been talking to my DNA and attempting to expand it. I have been also talking with my innate and specifically cleaning up my Akashic reservoir of anything that I really don't want there. And I have spent a lot of embodiments on this planet, and I know that some of them have been pretty violent. So I've been finding that I'm really getting a good experience of myself. But what happened to me a couple of weeks ago, I started catching a cold. Now there's no reason for me to be sick. But what I notice is that when I'm sick, my energy is down, and it's easier for me to access the junk parts of myself. And I would really like to get to the point where I can access them without getting sick. So
you can. You have to. You and your body have a powwow and discuss that. Your body will give you some steps on how to do that, and your heart can guide you in the other things. I mean, remember, we're creator beings, so we aren't just creator beings when we're stepping into our consciousness and waking up and focus on it. We're creator beings all of the time, and so we can have that conversation and give voice to how we want things to flow. You don't need to be, the sickness or the unconscious. You just have to realize that you need to have. You got an echo now. You may need to have where you're giving balance to the other things in your life as well as the clearings and the things that you're working on. So have you thought about asking for that?
Yes, I am. I am asking for it. I guess I just wanted to talk to somebody about it. Because I live pretty much alone, and it isn't something that most of the people that I know would ever talk about.
Right.
Is a personal growth thing like this. But yes, and I have been doing specific things to help clear up my lungs and my cough, and it is getting better. But I really don't want to do this anymore, and I'd like to ask. So
phrase it as, I choose to do it this way. I choose to let these things go, right? Instead of I don't want to do, right? I choose.
Yes, I choose, and I am healthy and happy and blessing the world with my presence.
You are, and even blessing the world. That's the other thing I think sometimes people get a little frustrated with. When you're clearing things, when you're clearing old programming, and whether that shows up in a down energy day or shows up in head cold or running nose or blowing your nose for 5 days straight or whatever it is, that you're being of service in that, because not only are you clearing it from you, you're clearing it from your energy field, you're clearing it from every space that you then transmit from and to. And you clear it because you're clearing, what you're clearing is those programs, that whole construct and programs. And as you clear it, you take energy away from it. You take energy focus away from it. So that in effect is serving all, because you're taking giving that power, pulling that power from there, and so that it doesn't have as much power to run on. So that's why it's all falling down.
I see.
Yes, thank you very much.
You know, and another fun thing that you can play with is when because you mentioned you were listening to your body, talking with your body, hearing that, activating it. So are there maybe thoughts or words or phrases that you can write down that would be parts or kind of shorthand for the different programs that you may be releasing? So just jot them down. You know, it doesn't have to be, it won't be number one and then this long sentence of this, you know, program thing. But however it comes for you, and it comes to people in different ways. You can use colored pens, you can use crayons, whatever, you know, so that it's fun. It lets that creativity. So you're playing with it. And if you're playing with it, you're not getting heavy with it. You're not, you know, getting wrapped up in being sick of it or being sick or, you know, any of those things. But anyways, when you're done, then you can burn them and watch as that you're transmuting and transforming the energy form of the paper back into smoke and then ether.
Great.
You know, so
Yes.
It's another way to let go of and release. Plus, you can watch it. You can, as it burns, you know, put it in a little shell or something, and you can see that float away and disperse and be able to go back into pure energy to create something else out of it.
Great. Yes. Thank you
Cool.
very much.
Yeah, sounds great. If someone's got a TV or something else behind in their background, so if they can mute themselves, that'd be great. Another thing too, before the next person goes, is when people are moving through their day and clearing things or expanding and playing with how they're wanting to do different things, and whether it's Katie, you know, focusing on bringing down the end and her music and really rocking out with those kinds of things, that you can, by the same thing, give voice to that you're deciding. I am deciding my perceptions from now on. So I'm not looking at someone else's ideas, or I'm not looking at what I see or what I hear, what I read, what I speak, any of those kinds of things. But I'm deciding what my perceptions are from now on. And that's another way that you can guide yourself back to when you're in the flow. It's, you know, it's when you're in the flow and you're expanding your consciousness and you're playing on the call like this or other places, when you're, you know, wouldn't it be wonderful if, and Tim talked about people reaching back into the things that they dreamed about as a kid, and all of that is very creative, very energy enhancing, and it's expansive. And then something can catch our eye that we may read, or we may hear someone, or a headline, or whatever it is, and that's handing us a perception again. And so unless we've gotten ourselves dialed into our higher frequency vibration and are really in tune with holding that in the steady pace, sometimes those can knock us off. So if you have that kind of phrase that you create yourself, whatever that is, that's, you know, along the lines of I'm deciding, you know, my perceptions from now on, that'll help you swing back. Or if you're having a conversation with someone who's not really that awake and has their perceptions kind of handed to them by what the script is out there, that's a good way to guide you back and maybe even guide them back. Who else? What's going on? What are you playing with?
Hey, Daisy, this is Ren.
Hey, Lynn. I'm Ren. Hi,
Ren.
Ren. How you doing? Yeah. I got the energy and the voice and said the wrong name. How you doing?
I've been playing with that getting the nudge sensation for a while, and a year or better, we'll say, I don't know. But last year, I would put off the nudge. I'm busy, I'm doing something, and then the nudge would come back harder. And it'd be like, no, I'm saying do it now. And I kind of chuckle. I'm like, okay, I'll do it, you know. So this summer, I'm living in Southern California for the first time, and a lot of lizards around here. And that's very new to me. And I'll be upstairs in my room working on the computer or doing something, and I'll get a nudge to go downstairs. I don't know what for. And so I chuckle, I turn, and I go downstairs, and as I'm going down the steps, I'm, you know, okay, what is it going to be this time? And probably about 5 times it's been a lizard somewhere in the house. And I'll just kind of walk right to it. And, you know, then I can help it outside and whatever. But it's been very, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And those nudges, it's cool that you recognize that you were getting nudged and not listening, or listening not quite as fast as your nudge wanted you to. And then you've shifted that. And those nudges to do something is the way that we create. And by not following them more, oftentimes, again, the mind, the brain comes up, well, you know, that's a little uncomfortable, or I'm not ready, or let me think about it, or it's inconvenient, or I'm at work, I can't do those different things. Again, we can, what our soul wants for us is to wake up and integrate and expand and pay attention, because that's where we are and that's where we're going, and we're quantum beings, and now we just have to get with the program, because that's what we are. But there are ways that you can work it into if you're showing good faith to yourself. This is all about you and your soul. It has nothing to do with anybody else. And that you're opening to that expansiveness and that shift that's going on. Then you can fit it into different things with your life that as it currently is. And as you trust that more and more, then abundance flows maybe in many different ways, so it isn't just from the job per se, or isn't just from the one thing that you kept pointing at, well, I have to do this right now, so I can't follow that nudge. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And to kind of expand on that, my living situation here is we have a shared kitchen. And by following, you know, and it's not even a nudge, it's just by following me, I'm able to go down and prepare my meal and have food and, you know, clean up and be done in time for when the next person comes in to do their meal.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
It's flow. It's that flow. Yeah, because you're connecting, even if you may not know it consciously, you're connecting. There's a flow, and there's that timing, divine timing that's going on.
Yeah. Yep. I'll go to grab my cell phone for whatever reason, and then set it back down, and then I'll get a text. Well, did I grab it because I sensed the person was getting ready to send me a text, or you know, whatever? But it's awesome. I love it. My new normal.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you.
And I found myself, you know, talking about work, I found myself when I'm at work, and either what I refer to as a sleepy train comes by, where you need to integrate something, and if given your complete choice, you'd go, you know, sack out on the couch for a little while or something. And oftentimes I can't do that because I'm at work and doing things. But I have developed the abilities to have part of me go into that respite and integration mode while I'm still doing a specific task. And as long as there's not another person who's that I need to interact with directly, I can be fully focused on what it is that I'm doing in the quote-unquote work part, and then doing my real work of the integration or the creation, you know, in my head, until I can get to something that I'm actually creating with, maybe it's a recording or writing or video or whatever it is. But I find that as long as I'm willing to be committed to and choosing that my priority is that expansion and holding that energy focus and frequency, that sometimes I don't need to let what I might have originally termed as constraints of the job or timing or that kind of thing, make me hold off, following that nudge. I can do them because I'm quantum. I can do them and get many things done at the same time, but it's not at all like what was the old mantra of multitasking in business and all that kind of stuff. I truly am being able to have the different aspects of myself do something at the same time. So for an example, the other day I was out and I was doing a specific task in my job. And I was also doing a lot of integration at the same time. So part of me was kind of being sleepy, being tired, and integrating that. And the other part of me was able to do what I was doing. And someone on the job came up to me and started to ask me something. And because I wasn't paying attention to them, I was fully focused. I might normally have said, what'd you say? But because I'm quantum, I have, and I don't know how, but I just have turned it on somehow. I suppose if I thought about it, I could kind of back out the steps to the recipe. But I can do an audio playback of what they just said and tune into it as if it's, happening right now. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this right. And look at them and go, yeah, I can do that. Fine, no problem. I'm just going to finish here and then I'll be over, and do that. And they walk away and say, great. And of course I chuckle to myself because they're thinking when I finish here, it's whatever I was doing that they saw me doing. But it was actually, probably 3 or 4 things on a quantum level that I was doing. So,
wow, that's awesome.
but that's how we can do that. We can do all of that. And the ingredients, the steps, the tutorial, I would say, for learning how to do that, practicing how to do that, getting in, a fun, efficient, playful flow of that is the biggest tutorial on that is to trust yourself, to feel into those feelings and make it your priority of that expansion. And then you will find and you will create and tune into, however you want to language it, the ways to do those things. When there's another constraint going on, you can still do those other things. And you're not giving anything, short shrift. So you're fully in the moment with those different things. You're just using your multidimensional self to do it.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
and you still may shake your head and go, okay, my life is so weird. But it's all good. Who else? What else is someone up to and playing with? We want to hear. If you're on the phone, push *6 to unmute, and if you're on the computer, you need to push the little mute button or unmute button. Nobody else wants to come play?
I guess Howard. I can. This is Aja.
Okay.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Hi, Aja.
Go ahead. No, I think somebody else said something.
Oh, it was me. This is Howard.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you very much. This is a wonderful forum to join. There's been so much happening. The eclipse and vibrationally for me, sounds, and the part of me can attribute it to physical things and so on, but most of it, the reality comes in when I drop into it and feel what it is, meditate, relax, and open myself up to it. I just made a list of things that have changed in my life drastically. I started on this venture years and years ago. My original mentor was guy named Stuart Wilde. And it sort of never left me, but I got off the track for quite a while, and then I got back on it a few years ago. And now the changes are exponential in my life of what's happening. There's just things that come to mind is, one thing, I'm not lonely anymore. I'm never alone. I'm never alone.
Yeah.
I have no separate agenda anymore. My life has come to a point at my age where I'm just all about service. I read the post from Tank today, and it was wonderful. And all he was doing was saying, be discerning, which is happening more and more. Judgment's falling away, but discernment is getting more magnified in my life as to what I'm listening to, and knowing if it's the one myself of who I am that is resonating with what another person is channeling, or whatever happens to be going on, or I'm paying attention to at the time. Going back to somebody who spoke before, it reminded me of a woman we had at our church that gave a seminar, and the first sentence, or one of the first sentences she said, and this has been happening to me, all disease is the manifestation of a thought form.
Yes.
So when things have happened to me with so many beneficial people and so many enlightened people that, are just coming forth in droves right now. But in the ones that have been here for a while, I go pick up the book from Louise Hay, and I just look, and, all of a sudden I was diagnosed with a couple of things, and I'm still, I'm not waiting for anything to change, but I'm in the process, and I don't want to be grandiose about it or egoist about it, but I'm not quite to the point of grandeur where I can say this is what's happening exactly, and I know it. I haven't come to that point with it yet, but the two diseases that I've been diagnosed with have for all intents and purposes, have come and gone, and I don't have anything to tie that to, except the fact that I've changed my mind. I looked at them as opportunities, not as something that was going to just, hit me. I couldn't do anything about it. I go searching around for all these different people, allopathic medicine and all that kind of stuff. I'm not in that box anymore. I can't stay inside of anybody's boxes.
How beautiful.
And when I want help, I know exactly where it is. And this is some of the stuff that Tank was going into in his post, was that, see, what's happening right now is we're taking back the power. There isn't some group of people or some, gurus or channels or whatever. It's all us. It's all us individually, but knowing that we're part of the whole thing and having our power. Not somebody else that's going to give us something or do something for us. It's just so out of step with me anymore. And I keep trying to say this to people, and the only problem I have right now is sort of an impatience with, when I get into conversations with people, one person, loves the Federal Reserve, and I just can't, I just go, oh, come on, and I don't want to debate it, and I don't want to, ruin their salvation or whatever it is that they have in that box they're in. But I'm not there. But at the same time, I'm trying to see my truth in love,
Yes.
the best I
Yes.
can. But it's just like, I'd love to stand here and talk to you all day, but I'm not going to.
Right.
It's just, I've got to find people and do things like this. And again,
Yeah.
coming back to thank you very much. It's just wonderful, and I'm glad to be on this call tonight. And
It's wonderful to have you here. Two things that you were, when you were speaking, I wanted to play with a little bit, just to end with the last one. Someone's doing a lot of moving around by their mic, so just careful of that. You about the Federal Reserve and them wanting to have, they love them, they're our savior and all that kind of stuff. So is there a soft, subtle way you could say, well, yeah, you're going to have some big news from the Federal Reserve soon?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And again, just be very soft and playful. And if they'll tell by your energy if they're really attached to their thoughts and whole frequency on that, they'll just leave it lie. If they're curious to opening their energy up a bit more, they'll actually, play with you a little bit on that. So that's always a fun way to do it. You're not really saying anything specific, right? But you're saying it with your energy and a bit with your words.
I've been doing that with the the RV and all of that. I just say,
yeah.
When everybody gets all upset and they're watching the news, I just go, I'm expecting some really good things to happen. All this is boiling up to where people are starting to clarify and see the difference between what we've had and what we can have. It's
right.
It's a whole new life, a whole new earth that we're looking at, and I'm very excited about that. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And the other thing I wanted to play with, but I do want to remind someone, if anybody has a boom mic or their phone's in a hand and they're moving it around, that's coming through to the whole call. So just so you know that, mute yourself. It's Howard, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and you had said, you started by saying, I'm not lonely anymore. I'm never alone. And one of the things that made me think about is that in this process of expansion, in this process of physical ascension and embodiment coming in, where our soul is actually coming down into the physicality, there are going to be, for one way to language it, two of us in each of our bodies, and that's your soul and you. So there will be that connection. There will always be that's your best friend. So in a true sense, without any kind of some of the separations that we get sometimes in the linear construct of friends and that kind of thing. But it's wonderful that you gave voice to that. That's the way I hold it, and it's wonderful to hear you saying that same thing of expanding and playing and always have that connection.
Thank you. And one other point it just came to mind is somebody did this metaphor of sorts. It's about, and I think I've gotten this off of the Intel or wherever, but it's worth repeating. I keep seeing the world this way now because of be discerning but not judgmental and not critical. That the dualism is fading away, but the idea was that we're in a gigantic play, and all of the people are on the stage, and maybe we're in the audience, and there's this wonderful drama, and the good guys and the bad guys and all of the stuff that's going on. But when we get to a certain point, the play's over. They all come out on the stage, the good, the bad, the ugly. We all applaud. We're all the actors. And there's forgiveness for the it reminds me of the Star Wars with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, where he's battling his father and he's saying, I know there's some good in you. Right. And I feel like it's only through my life that all the things that I've done or had done to me that I'm prepared now for what's coming. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't have to
Yeah,
see
and
people as evil or dark or all of this other stuff anymore.
yes, because you're absolutely right, and using that same, metaphor of the play and stuff. So the Tony, which is the big award for when you're on Broadway on plays and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Tony that we all get, and we all get the Tony, is that we come fully into consciousness, and we come fully into embodiment. And so the very fact and act and experiential living through and living in and creating in each of our ways, each of our roles, brought us to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can realize all the other stuff is we're just experiences along the way to that, however we may label or judge or frame them, as you mentioned.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Yeah, cool. Who's next? Aja?
Yeah, I can go. Don't know where to start. I want to be, focused. I will share just briefly that after the eclipse was a huge turning point for me. The experience of the eclipse itself, I felt like I connected with millions of people, and I have maintained that feeling ever since when I go into meditation, that I'm really connected, like with all these other people who we're all connected in that kind of circle, kind of blessing the world way. And that's been really wonderful. And connected to that, my some creative things that I've been doing have really accelerated, and I've been able to be much more like see my way through it to what I've for different blocks that I've had have been like opened up. And so I feel like I'm really living in my fifth dimensional or my imagination visionary realm to a much more intense degree, which I've had visions for years and been an artist. That's been open to me, but ever since the eclipse and ever since I really decided that I would just do this instead of having all those voices to hold me back and say, do this instead. You should be like going out there or making money, doing this, all these other things that my voices, well, they were still there, but I didn't listen to them. But I do feel now there's a kind of, I'm curious what you meant when you said that we're really not in the 3D anymore.
Yes.
I mean, I've been, it's so easy for me to live in those other dimensions, but it feels like, just having to pay car insurance, having to buy all these different things. It's getting increasingly, I don't know, like unbelievable, or like there's no punch anymore in doing these things, or it just, I have some sort of like sense of it's surreal that I'm still doing these things.
Yeah, and, because those are all part of the program, the old programming, and their choices that we're making. So to perhaps say a little bit more about what I said before about the 3D not being here, the only thing that makes that 3D still here is our attention paid to it, our towing the line of it, our following the script. Are going along with it. Those are what makes it still here. Our energy, because attention goes where energy flows, right? And since we're in our creation of our reality, we are the ones who are holding the frequency which provides our physical aspects, our physical reality to us. We pull that into a physical form, into physicality. And when we're focusing on those things and still playing with them, then that's part of what we've chosen. we may think we're doing it when we don't want to do it, but we're still doing it. So I can tell you that there are many, many millions of people who don't, you rattled off a few things, who don't do any of those things anymore, and they don't limit themselves in any way. They just simply don't do them anymore. It's not part of their reality.
Like they don't pay their cell phone bills?
They don't do a lot of, yes, they don't do a lot of different things. Absolutely. Taxes or any of those different things.
That
not
I can
part
see.
of their
you
construct.
That I can totally see. Taxes, medical insurance, you can let these things go. But
I'll give you this part of the secret of it. Any kind of thing that there's a utility. So the airwaves, what is a cell phone? But a cell phone is something that runs on the frequencies within the air that belong to all of us. And a utility is a public utility, which means it belongs to the public. What you haven't been let on in is that because it's part of that, everything was prepaid, pre-authorized for each one of us. And your signature is what is the value. You are the value. So you're transmitting it that way. So you can look at lots of different information and material if you don't want to listen to within yourself on these different things. You can find it out there, the IUV, you can find a lot of it right there on the IUV, but it will show you and document to you how these different things are so. And one way that they might be described, people might talk about different systems or different loopholes or things that are written right in written right in the perhaps different codes in different states and how those things form. They're all right there, but unless you're willing to look at that. Now, some people, I should say, a clearer way to say this is that unless you tune into yourself and know of that sense that is gone and it's part of the illusion, and when we stop paying attention to it and stop supporting it, it actually does disappear.
Really?
But and the other way I would say that is a lot of those things are already written in plain sight. They're also hidden in plain sight. And so, taxes is a good example. There's many clips and sound bites, and there's many things written, and you can find it in a different coding within the tax itself that, it's not an obligation that you have to pay. It's just by consent that you do it. And that's the case with everything that's of the construct.
But won't they turn you off? So, I think they will. They will just disconnect you so you don't have water. They'll just disconnect you so you don't have a cell phone.
For some people, that's the case, and for many, like I said, I know that that's not the case at all, because they don't even play with that. Well, won't this if that happens? Because if I'm being bad, basically, is what you're saying, right? So, but that whole focus, the way to answer that question, I can have a whole long conversation with you on that, but where I hold a thought process on it and how I actually carry my energy and do something, because I'm unique to me and you're unique to you, will be different. And when you can get yourself to a place that those two things line up, then you can have the outcomes that you want. So I don't want to get, just on the one thing.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is that it relates to the whole bigger picture. That as you, I'm certain that there are many things that you do in your life, just you don't even think about doing them. They're innate to you. And they're a matter of course in how you go through your life, that most people look at you and go, well, how do you do that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do this, and you go, no, you don't. Whether it was about your creativity, all these different things. So there's lots of different things that you already have that ability to do, to frame, to feel, to carry in your energy field, and that's your predominant energy vibration. That many, many others would look at and kind of go, you can't do that. You know what I mean? And I think you have a sense of what I'm talking about, and you say, well, of course you can. So anytime that something comes, the reason I bring that point up is anytime we feel into something or we're thinking about something that we have to do X, Y, and Z, or this is the way things are in my reality, we can step out of that and shift that and change that. So I'll give you a good example, and these are examples, and then you just change it to how your resonance and understanding feels with it. So if the court of law really works the way we're all indoctrinated to think that it works, and something as fantabulous as, like a UCC, which is supposedly not law, and you can't just tell somebody, well, no, I canceled your order and I voided the indictment. So in a court of law that we have been trained to do, that person would be thrown back in the slammer. That person would be, taken and thrown into shackles right away and left from the court because they'd go into a loony bin, right? Mm-hmm. Except that particular person that I'm referencing danced with the judge magistrate for 2 hours and I think it was 13 or 14 minutes.
Right.
And none of that happened. So, right. So I'm use that as and extrapolate that to any other thing that you want to point at, right? And say, well, we have to do this because this is so. And I can show you that's an example, and it's yes, it's in that particular focus in a courtroom and all that kind of stuff, but you can't get more punitive than a courtroom, can you?
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's just a good metaphor for exactly how we are not in that 3D structure anymore. And the reason that was created, the reason that was played out, the reason that it generated a transcript that could then be posted lots of different places, the reason that generated the audios and transcripts from it that were listened to real time from people all over the world and off planet, and the reason that then went into the whole electronic and energetic system of what we call the judicial system was because that's another shining high light beam structure from a photonic light beam structure that's then breaking all of those constructs down.
Mm. Oh, I can feel that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. Awesome.
Isn't it? Yeah. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's like we I think, we're going to be gods and goddesses in this place, but not in this place, in this situation, but not in this situation.
Right.
It makes me
you can't be half pregnant. You can't be a half goddess. You're either a creator being or you're not.
Yeah. Thank you.
And here's the thing. And when you're thinking about something like that, that's a program. It just walked right up to you and said, Aja, I'm a program. Are you going to play with me? Or are you going to break me down and let me go?
It's like, release me. Oh, okay. I'll release you.
Right? Mm. So you either break the programs or they break the realities that you're playing in, which is a construct of the old programs, and you resolve it that way. But those programs need to be broken down, and each of those programs are all unique to us. Yes, there's similarities. Yes, there are collective programs within there. Yes, there's certain company lines, quote unquote, that you could say is the program, the indoctrination. Yes, that's true. But we're the ones who are responsible for the breaking of those programs. So you've got to choose, right, that you want to break those programs, that you want to be all of who you are, that you want to be unlimited in everything that means to you, abundance in all. Just I'm going to leave it at all because that covers everything. Then you have to decide that's what you're going to do. You're going to remind yourself moment to moment to moment to moment to choose. And then you're going to commit to it. And then you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I just outlined will look different in each being's experience. But if you want a recipe, if there, you know, there really isn't such a thing. But if you want something that's kind of close to that, that's, you know, what I laid out. But make no mistake about it. You know, the programs will be broken. You do it, or they get done to you.
You mean like we're waiting and then it just happens?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? I mean, like we're not, nobody's paying for utilities. The TGDAs are here. The banking system is collapsed. Is that what you're saying? Or are we?
No, what I'm saying is that
is that what you mean?
You break down the programs yourself because you're choosing them and you see them for what they are. You keep changing and expanding your awareness and expanding your frequency. Or you say, you say nothing, and that's a choice as well, or you keep playing in that, and you'll see as those get broken down, because those are programs, they all get broken down. There's going to be a lot, you know, think of a wall that got broken down over your head, and there's, you know, dust and rubble and stuff raining down on you. You choose to break down the program. You can say, okay, I'm going to make a mess, and there's going to be some dust, and, you know, a little pebble hit me here and there, and that's annoying, you know, but no problem, because I chose this and I can clean it up and I can let it go. But you can, so you can also to some extent script it. Otherwise, if it's breaking down anyways and you're not paying attention because you're not honoring the fact that you actually are choosing by choosing to be oblivious or choosing to do nothing or whatever the, you know, quote unquote choosing is, and the wall falls down when you're walking by, you know, that's going to be more annoying. I
don't want to take up, you know, so much time, but I really don't understand. Because first we were talking about the paying of bills. That was just an example, I guess.
But that's
Are you
part
really
of, that's part of
that?
the, I'm talking about that's all part of the program, all part of the construct. All those things that we think that we have to do. That we
so
think
people don't, you know, pay their, that we think we have to be good to do this because there's other things within that. You can point at any of those things, and I'm trying to think of a simple way. But if we don't pay our bills, like if everybody online, this line listening, just stops paying their bills, right? Is that if everybody decided, you know, to stop giving their power away and saying that, well, we have a government or we have a this or we have a structure that rules our lives, and it would come to an end because you're not giving your power to it anymore. So it's energetic.
Everything's energy. That's the point. Everything is energy. Everything is an energetic frequency based, and that then creates the physical reality.
I mean, but the thing is that they really do, if you don't, I mean, I have forgotten to pay bills. I wasn't, you know, energetically thinking, oh, I have to be, you know, be responsible and a good girl and pay my, you know, my water bill this month. But there have been sometimes where I actually, you know, or there was a mistake and they thought I didn't pay it, whatever. And they literally are then going to turn it off. You know what I mean? And then you don't have water. So
right, but the example that you had given me that I thought we were focusing on was, you know, the phone bill, the cell phone. Well, a lot of that reason that people use the cell phone is it's their ability to communicate. But you have that ability already. You just haven't turned it on yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's just really intense. You know, like I'm telepathically going to be connecting with people and just get rid of my cell phone. I'm just not there. I'm just not there. You know what I mean? Like right now, if we didn't all have cell phones,
but for you,
look,
that's
we're all talking
on
phone.
that.
We're all talking on phones right now, though.
Yes, but we've had this
Aren't we?
conversation before we got here.
I love it. Oh my God. Well, can I share one story? Can I share one very quantum story? Because I know, like, I'm just my very practical side is turning on, and I'll just have to digest this conversation. I was walking through the woods the other day. I live beside a river, and I often walk beside it. And I just looked to the right, and through the woods there were waves, like on an inner vision level, which I'm used to seeing. On an inner vision level, but very clearly, like I could see their clothes and everything. There were waves and waves and waves of Native Americans coming through the woods, and they had their beautiful clothes on, and the women, and the children had all these gorgeous clothes, and everyone's, the men, the women, the children, all their faces were shining and beaming, like they were so excited. And they were coming through the woods, and they were going towards the river, which is west. So they were just going, and they, streamed past me, and they went, walked over the river. And I just knew that where they were going was to be reunited with their families. And they were just so happy because they had wanted to do this for so long, and now they could do it. And they were going to have some sort of reunion, and it was so beautiful. So beautiful.
And
then
so you just gave a beautiful example of what I was talking about. I said, I guarantee in your life you can do things and see things and experience things that other people would look and you go, huh? You can't do that. And you just told us. You just shared it with us. Because that wasn't a vision. That was your physical embodiment interacted with those beings.
Yeah, they really are doing that. They really are doing that. And then later on that day, or maybe a couple of days later, I was driving on the highway, and I saw these. Actually, they're in one of my stories that came, that I've been working on, The Weaver and the Fairies, ever since the eclipse that I told you about. But I think they're also like they're on another level, and they were walking. They're these very tall people wearing golden robes, and they were walking on the side of the road. And I just, like, they're here, like, to help us and to be part of all of this. And I've been, I saw them too, and it was just so thrilling. It's really
Very
thrilling.
Cool. So, Aja, one thing I would love to have you play with the rest of your evening, or however long you want to play with it, is how, I'll say it first in linear terms. How do you square what you just described, which is absolutely so and going on, and you were part of that experience, with them saying, but we have to do X, Y, and Z in the old structures? I don't need the answer now on the call, but that's something you might play with.
I will definitely play with that. Thank you, Susie. Thank you very much, my dear.
Cool. Okay,
you're brilliant. Thank you.
Have any last thoughts to play with or wrap up before we end tonight's call?
Yeah, I wanted to say.
Evening. Whoops. Who was the first? It was a soft gentleman voice at the start.
Oh, this
and
is
then someone's
Howard.
got a rattling mic. Hi, Mike. Howard. Go ahead.
I just wanted, the thought came to me is that, in these constructs, what we're waking up to and that we've forgotten for so long is, see, each of us individually is the source.
Yes.
And so when you withdraw that, it disappears. So it's no longer in your life. It's that simple and that difficult at this point.
That's right.
So anyway.
It's beautiful. It is just that simple. And when you're not in the place to see it as that simple, it's excruciatingly difficult to grok. You're right.
Absolutely. Anyway. That thought occurred to me. Now I would like to just do it every day and be that.
There you go. Well, but and again, you have the thought. You're choosing that. You're deciding. You just said you decide to do that every day. so commit to it and you keep going. Cool.
Absolutely. That's where we're all going.
Hey,
Yeah,
I have to
absolutely.
sing a song from Olivia Newton-John. Have to believe we are magic. Nothing will stand in our way. Then it'll get stuck in your mind.
Well, we know that we are magic. We know.
Yeah,
We know that's
she
going.
was
So
singing that to
what?
us.
One thing I want to leave us with, unless there was someone else, was there one other person who had something they wanted to say before I finish this out?
Hi, BZ. This is Christy Love, Brightest Blessings. Hi. So, yes, I'm loving how I can dismiss, a lot of the nonsense. I love it. Not fill my head with the negative news and so forth. One thing, how do we bounce back from having to interact with people really negative, maybe racial, etc. Maybe in the workplace or family members, etc. that just tend to eat at us. You can dismiss so much, and I don't know. Sometimes I walk away and I still feel so drained. And
it's your energy.
Go ahead.
Well, part of the way I can answer the how, and just as a general way, because it's all about frequency, and then each specific case for you and others, you'll move through that as you do. But your frequency, when you're holding a higher, more expanded, more conscious, more fully conscious or fully conscious frequency, those other beings won't interact with you. You may be in the same room and you won't hear the conversation. You may not ever even go to the party or the this or whatever it is. It just won't occur. They'll be like, this is an odd metaphor which comes into mind, but the ships passing in the night, you're not going to see them. When you play with that, when you're entertaining it, you're lowering your vibration to go to that. And now it has become, because you are the creator, you are part of your reality. You've pulled it into your bubble. And so you've created that there. So one of the ways to play with that as you're getting in the flow of it is to send that love to whoever these people are, and understand that where they are right this moment, where they're focusing on right there this moment, what they're choosing to have as their predominant vibrational focus, right? They're not capable of going beyond that frequency, right?
Right.
So when you're expecting something of them, you're expecting something that they're not capable of right that moment at the frequency that's there. So that removes the good, the bad, this to me, that to me, whatever it is, right? Taking all that, I think it was Harry that talked about judgment, taking all that judgment out of it. And you're having compassion for them, and you're having compassion for yourself, because you're giving compassion to yourself to not expect someone to do something they're not capable of in that energetic frequency register that they're in right at this moment. And that frees you up to move back into your higher frequency vibration.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Very good.
So that's
wonderful. Love you.
I love you too.
Good rest of your night.
Yeah. So I'm going to just leave this last thought with you all. If you're thinking about or wondering about or playing with the idea of what happens next, what's in these realities, what's the structure to the new now, what's the structure to the new earth? And some will love this thought and some will gnash their teeth at this thought. And that is that there really is, there's no form. In other words, there's no construct and structure like we have right this minute to what we recognize as the old 3D reality. So our new realities, the new earth, we're shaping them as we go. And they have flow and form and no form and flow and a variety of things, because they are realities that are, and we can create multiple realities, but they're born of each of our intentional, conscious creating. And the key to flowing in that, the key that makes it feel like and our experience of it be really delicious and really creative and really having a lot of things accomplished and feeling a whole assortment of wonderful feelings and seeing tangible physical results from it. The key to that is maintaining the higher frequency. So that will mean and feel like right at this moment to different people. But again, the key thing is to feel that rather than to drop out of your head and into your heart, and instead of thinking it to death. So your heart is leading the way. Your heart is creating all of that, and the head is just giving you some assistance instead of the other way around that for eons we've lived from that structural base of the head leading the way.
That's beautiful.
So I love you all on the 1111 Portal Gateway. We're going to really rock it and play with that. So come all of you and others who are listening to this, and we'll play and create some great days between now and then. Woohoo!
Thank you, Beezy. Love you, Beezy.
Love you.
Thank you, everybody.
Love you guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you
Good
much.
night.
Good night.